Hey YouTube, Rook here from Rook Geek Goodness, my little channel web for all things geeky and cool, and welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to an action figure unboxing review video. Now I'm shooting this in the middle of a live stream, something I have never done before. I'm basically editing this piece out to shoot it separately so you guys can see this action figure review. Normally, I don't do action figure reviews on my stream. It's something completely different. I want to do something new. And we're talking about a figure that I picked up, and I really like the character of Gambit. Marvel's character of Gambit, Remy LeBeau, the Thief. I do have his first appearance in Uncanny X-Men. I believe it was X-Men 266. I could be incorrect on the number. I believe it's X-Men 266. And I really like the character of Gambit. So they've had some really hit and miss Gambits. And one guy I didn't talk about on the stream, and I do own it. I have an unboxed version of him, but I didn't unbox this one for a review and talk about it, is this guy right here. The Marvel Select version of Gambit. It's a cool figure, but it's very bulky. This was a Diamond Select version, basically, of Gambit. It's a really big figure. The articulation is very limited. Packaging is horrible. Because it's bulky as heck, so it's really super bulky. And the actual articulation is very limited with the figure. It looks like it has a lot of articulation, but it's just so blocky. He comes with a piece of the Danger Room, but this is a version of Gambit we got. We've come out many versions of Gambits prior to this figure, but this was a better take of Gambit. They have done even a better version of Gambit, I want to say a couple years ago, and it was a Marvel Legends from Hasbro, and it was this Gambit right here. Marvel Legends Gambit. Very cool figure, but there are some good points and bad points of this figure. I did a full review of this guy several years ago, but it's a very cool figure. There's a lot going on with him, both good and bad, and we have to compare it with the figure we're talking about today, and that's going to be this one right here. We're going to do a nice little thumbnail. This is the figure we'll be talking about today. Apologies for the glare from the camera. I'm using my actual PC camera that I normally shoot my streams with, but it's very similar to the one we just talked about momentarily, and it's the same figure with some subtle tweaks to it, which I think was a very good idea. So, very first thing we talk about in a action figure review, apologies, I have to scratch my nose, is the packaging and presentation. Unfortunately, I threw away the old box. The other Gambit came in for the Marvel Legends, which was several waves back, but it's a very cool figure. We'll compare it when we get him out of package to that other Gambit, and that's the idea of this review. So this is what the packaging looks like, and it looks very similar. You're going to say to yourself, well, Rook, I've seen something like this before. Where have I seen this packaging? Well, you've seen this packaging on another figure from Toy Biz. So let's take a look at that real quick here, so you can see it on the screen. It's a very different figure. There we go. I'll put it in post so you can see it. I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it. It's a Toy Biz version of Uncanny X-Men Gambit. The packaging looks just like this one, except he's doing a kick, but the coloring and the look and feel is identical to this figure. So packaging right here looks really good. Nice blister card. It does say at the bottom here, battle staff in the corner. So here's a battle staff. The staff is segmented. There's notches on it, which we'll talk about momentarily. Let me just pop this open. Right there. Perfect. So, yeah, they took a lot of liberty from the old Toy Biz version and this Marvel Legends one. They took it basically from Marvel Legends, which took it from the Toy Biz version, rather. Probably just to get a little confused there. But this is a really cool packaging. The back looks very similar to Toy Biz's figure as well. They even give you a little bit of a bio here. They give you, it looks like just one paragraph right here. I'll zoom in, let you zoom in right there. There's just one paragraph right here. You can pause it and read it for yourself. And they have different languages going down the bottom. So let's take this guy off card and get into this physical review. Remove him. You've got to rip it completely to shreds. And that's one of the biggest problems I have, is you have to destroy the card to get the figure out. But that's just the nature of the beast. So let's take a look here at Gambit. We're going to compare it real quickly to the other Gambit. Unfortunately, I don't have the... He comes with multiple hands, and he comes with technically 4 accessories. So let's, first thing before we do anything, let's talk about the character first. I do like this one a lot. And I like it because it has a feel, not only the Toy Biz version, so it has the Toy Biz feel to it, as well as being, I think, more of a cartoon accurate version of Gambit. So this is what the figure looks like off card. Again, 6-inch scale, looks really good. Again, we look at the paint, the articulation, and accessories. Like the way it looks. Hopefully it's coming across pretty well here. Nice face sculpt. Hopefully that will zoom in pretty well, so you can see the face sculpt. There's a nice amount of detail to the face sculpt here. Well, right there. Perfect. Good amount of detail for it. He's wearing the traditional Gambit outfit that he was originally his first appearance basically, or his normal design, his normal look, looks like this figure. He has the dark brown trench coat, the pinkish color body armor, the blue kind of upper chest armor, and he has the kind of dark blackish color. He has the pink stripes on the side with the blue boots, but the boots aren't coming. They're like an opalescent color to them, but it's not coming across very well on camera. This is a light blue color. It's coming off more gray color to my camera. So first thing is first, we always talk about articulation. Let's talk about this character's articulation. Go back to the head. Head will spin 360. You have up and down really far in this ball joint. You can go all the way back. I like that level of articulation. Since he's wearing this trench coat, it gives it the look and feel of a trench coat, even though there's cuts in the trench coat. So it gives it the appearance of being one solid piece when it really isn't. Because it's basically his arms are painted in this color to look like the trench coat. If you tried to take the trench coat off, you would still have the pink colored arms. It just gives the look and feel of the trench coat. So this is sort of rubbery, almost like a soft good material. It feels very similar to the other Gambit's material as well, which we'll talk about that shortly. So again, articulation, arms go 360. They can go out to a full T. I'm going to try to get the arm a little stiff on the joints there. You have a upper arm swivel, which is a cut of articulation you normally don't see happening right here. You have this full swivel right here at the top of the shoulder where the bicep would be, so his whole arm spins 360. You have, it looks like maybe a single joint. It's on his, it's a single jointed elbow. It looks like it's not double jointed. You have wrist will spin 360, and there is wrist articulation. There is a change, it looks like, on this hand compared to the other Gambit's hand, which we'll talk about that shortly. So again, the articulation 360, spins, bends, bends. A good amount of articulation there. Putting the arms down, let's see if he has a chest crunch. He does have a chest crunch. Ooh, oh yeah. Oh yeah, you can go down big time. So yeah, you have a good amount of movement right here, frontwards. Backwards, not so much. It looks like he doesn't want to go back. Like the back won't go. Maybe, well, it doesn't even look like the joint. The joint won't go any further back. The leg joints, we'll have to move the cape partially out the way. So let's move the cape up, the trench coat up, so you can see the legs. The leg articulation, you have a amount of articulation here. You have, it looks like, it will spin. Yeah, you have a cut here. There's a cut, I'll show it right here. So you have a cut right, move the coat out the way again. So you have a cut here, so you can spin the leg this way. You can see it look a little weird right there. So you have that level of articulation. You can spin them at the waist 360, but mind you, when you start spinning them at the waist 360, it's going to start looking real funky, just because the way the character is built, it doesn't really... most action figures, when you start spinning them 360, you get the weird cut right here in the chest, and the bottom portion of the figure starts looking really, really weird. So putting it back to where it was, original position, again. So going back to the legs, we have this. I mean, this leg goes even higher than the other leg was. So I mean, you can get a full. I mean, he's going at least 45 degrees right here, the level of articulation. You have a double jointed knee right here. You can probably bring the leg back super far right there. So you have a silly amount of articulation. You have bottom cuts of the thigh, allows to spin 360. You have ankle forward, ankle back, and I think it's 360. It is 360 as well. So you have a silly amount of articulation on this figure. Now, before we get to the weapons, I want to compare them to the other Gambit. And you can see they took liberties from this figure and made changes for this figure. So let's take a look at both figures real quick here. Let me fix the feet on this one, and we'll talk about him shortly. Mind you, this hand is in place, which is an extra accessory. He normally comes with this hand, you can see right there. So, as I mentioned, there is a difference between this figure and this figure. The darker color trench coat one came out first. Again, I talked about him on a review. We did a full review of this guy already. Right off the bat, you can see some definite differences. Even though my color is kind of saturating all this stuff out, there is definitely differences between this figure and this new figure by Hasbro. They're both, of course, Hasbro figures, but there are subtle differences between this guy and this guy. First thing is the head sculpt. The head sculpts, right there, are completely, they're the same head sculpt, but the hair has been redesigned. It looks more, this one here looks more like the animated series accurate, as opposed to this one right here. So this one looks really, really good. The top of the breast armor, which is this right here, if you notice it, you might not be able to tell here. It's very difficult to tell. Let me throw a little more light here. 1 second. There we go. We're throwing a little more light on it, so hopefully you can see it a little better. So this chest armor right here is this piece, but this one here, you can see the blue, you see the black lines, the wash they put on it to give it a little more detail from this guy to this guy. So you have a little more deco, more details on the newer design as opposed to the older design. The chest armor itself, when you look at it, very similar color-wise, looks very, very similar in design to the other one. I don't see a whole lot of difference there. Going down to the bottom of the figure, I'm just looking at the two side by side. This one here, I'll hold it up so you can see, the boots here are much bluer compared to this one here, which is a little bit lighter colored in the boots. So I'll hold both of them up so you can see what I'm talking about here. If it was any type of professional, you should be able to see this. Let's close the legs up so you can see that this one here is the new one. The blue is a little different on the feet, but comparatively speaking. But all things considered, very, very similar design between the two. There's not that much difference between, as far as the deco goes, between both figures. So I'm going to hold him up as well. Here's from this side. Very, very similar in design between the two. Now, let's talk about accessories. So we'll put him aside real quick. And I have his accessories here. And I'm missing two of his accessories because they're in the packaging. And unfortunately, packaging is not within my reach. So let's talk about accessories. First things first, he has this long staff. I talked about it before. This silver staff. The other one, same sort of staff. I think there's no real difference. There's no difference between either staff. There's the same staff. This is the old one. This is the new one. No difference there. He does come with this hand, which is the one you saw on the other one. This hand is designed to hold cards. The smaller single attached, small singular card is designed to hold for this hand itself. All this does, literally, is you plug it in. You simply remove the hand, you pop it off, which is, here was the older hand, right here, and when you plug in the new one, here it is with the other hand in place. Yeah, good. That's with the other hand in place. So it gives it a different look and feel. And the idea of it is with the additional card accessory for this hand. That's the idea. There's also another hand, which I see what they did with this one. I'm not a fan of this accessory because it's the corner of the arc where he throws the cards, and they did something different with these compared to the other one. I could showcase it off with the last accessory compared between two figures. So let me show you what this one looks like when you plug it in. So that's what it'll kind of look like. The hand's barely in there. So I mean, it's... I wasn't a fan of the original one. I'm not a fan of this one. And the reason for it, it's very, very gummy, as I mentioned before. Maybe it didn't have time to cure, but that's what it kind of looks like. Not a big fan of it. Don't like the look. I thought the arc was cool in theory, but it's just not long enough. Like I showed you in the Marvel Select ones, it's this massive arc when he throws the cards, and the cards are really kind of spreading away from the energy wave. If you're not familiar, Gambit's ability is he's able to take any type of item he can hold. He does it what's called kinetically charges it, and he's able to release the stored energy into kinetic energy. So when he can, usually the smaller the item, the quicker it is for him to charge. cards, dice, jacks, even chewing gum. He can charge it super fast. It has supposedly the kinetic impact of a hand grenade. That's what it's supposed to be, the explosive impact, the equivalency between a hand grenade, not a special hand grenade, it's a normal hand grenade, and his kinetically charged cards. So apologies for me trying to get this silly hand accessory in. Not a fan of it. Don't think it was a good idea. But one thing you notice here is they look like cards. We'll talk about that momentarily when I put in the other accessory. So I'm going to take out this evil hand, because it is, if you look at the peg point, it's super gummy. They should have used a normal peg as opposed to this gummy peg. I don't like it, not a fan of it. So, and this one here is a solid peg. So that one is a real peg. So that's why I was able to pop it in with relative ease. So let me pop it back in here using this hand here. And this is the hand I probably will display with. But there is, again, one other accessory. And we'll talk about this one compared to the other Gambit's accessory. And that is this one here. As I mentioned, he has another accessory, and it's this one. Hopefully you can see it. Oh, right there. And it's a spade, right? The original Gambit looks like this. Oh, there we go. It's just a piece of pink plastic with this sort of rippling energy effect. So if you compare the two side by side, you can see the difference. So they put the painted image of the card on the accessory. I like that. I think that was a much better idea. So the idea of this is that he simply holds it between his fingers. It's not a very snug fit, but it's good enough to get the point across, as you can see right here. As you can see, that's the idea. That's how my Gambit is displayed. I have him holding the card like this. I don't like this accessory. Even the other one, the other Gambit, I didn't like this accessory to begin with. I thought it was, again, cool in idea, but the execution the arc isn't long enough. Again, this is bending. This is it's super gummy. I can see this thing warping in heat. I'm not a fan of it. So, not a big fan of that. The other big change I think they did, when I compare both Gambits side by side, and I am 100% correct here, and maybe this is just mine, but I'll show you from top down. You can see this hand, right there, is more open on this Gambit, on the new one, as opposed to this other Gambit. So the hands, I don't know if you can see them, let me turn them this way for you, so you can see what I'm talking about. The hands are a bit different. So the design is the same, but I think it hopefully be able to hold the staff better. People were complaining that he would not hold the staff properly. The grip was too loose. I was hoping it would be tighter, and unfortunately, again, this is a first impression video. Same sort of problem. Not a fan of it. Maybe with a heat gun or a low setting on a hairdryer, you may be able to get the hand to close around the staff. This I don't like. I complained about it in my original video. I'm complaining about it in this video. When the staff slides down this much right out of packaging, something is absolutely wrong. It's not right. It's incorrect. It shouldn't be that way. I don't know why they decided to do that. Could you switch it to the other hand? You probably could. Let's try it out real quick here. I'm going to try putting it in the other hand and see if you can hold it any better. I'm hoping he can. Maybe that hand is designed to hold staff. If that's the case, then he does hold it much better in this hand. But the problem is if you forego putting the staff in this hand, you can't do any of the card trick abilities. You can't use this hand. You can't use this hand. And you can't use the kinetic card accessory. This guy right here. So do you just have him in a staff and have him holding the staff in a cool, let's say, cool staff pose? Let's say something along the lines of, let's say, let me kind of adjust the hands a little bit, like this, and just forego the energy card effects completely. Not really sold on that. Don't like the idea. My thought would be they should have fixed the hand to make it much tighter so we could hold it in this hand. Now, why? Maybe you can tighten the hand up by gripping it, heat gutting it to make it hold. To me, that's a bad design. They should have saw what was wrong on the original Gambit and made the adjustment on this Gambit. Why they didn't do that, I don't know. I'm very confused why they wouldn't do that. Which figure do I like better? Probably let's head into final thoughts and wrap up this video. As far as final thoughts go, what do I think of both these figures? This figure I did a full review for. Really like the figure. As I mentioned before in the original video, I had a complaint about the hand, holding the hand with the staff. I thought it was a problem then. I still think it's a problem now with the other figure. This one, which is the one, of course, we're talking about, again, hand, I think maybe with a heat gun, maybe you might be, or a hair dryer, you may be able to cause the hand to curl and, make it tighter, but you as a collector shouldn't be your responsibility to fix Hasbro's problem. It's not your job or responsibility as the end collector, the end connoisseur of the product, for you to try to manipulate the product so it will work better. This is a problem that many companies with action figures have. You shouldn't be held liable or responsible to fix their faults. It's not your duty or problem. You shouldn't be held liable to fix it to make the figure work. That's not right in my personal opinion. Again, articulation is good. I do like how they changed the hair between this guy and this guy. You have the wavy hair here. You have the normal hair right there. I think it's a better head sculpt as far as the hair goes between the two. I like this one a little better. Again, we have the non-shaded chest armor portion. You have the now black right there. Hold on. Hopefully you can see it. The black right in this piece right here, top of the chest armor, has been drawn in so you can see the detail. The lines are there. You can't really see on the image right here. The lines are physically there. They just never drew them out with the figure. They did it with this one. I do think the articulation is really spot on. If you try to take the coat off of it, as I mentioned, it is a rubbery coat. You can peel this coat off it, but you'll have a character with brown arms because the illusion is him wearing the trench coat. That's the gimmick. That's the idea. There is a lot of articulation. I mean, this is packed with articulation. I mean, most times you can't see action figures do this. Most of the times you don't see an action figure go to a split like this. You can bring it out to a wider split, something like, this. But most figures, you don't see a huge amount of articulation range like this. And I think Hasbro did a very good job with this sheer amount of articulation. I think they did a really good job on it. It's a good figure. Which figure would I recommend buying? I'm a Gambit fan. So buying both figures to me was a no-given. Was a no-brainer. I figured I'd own both figures. Which one do I like better? I like the comic-accurate version of this, rather cartoon-accurate version of the brown trench coat. Again, throwback to the Toy Biz figure, which I'm going to put the picture up so you can see what it looks like. But it's very cool. There is no action feature like the original one. I think had a kick. So it had like this really weird kick action. I think you have to the leg was on a spring. If I remember correctly, it was a button or something, or you held his arm and his leg would kick up. Something along those lines. I believe I even had that figure. But all things considered, it's a really good figure. They did a really great job with this guy. If you can't find this figure right here, then buy this figure. They might be even both pretty difficult to find. Secondary market, you probably should be able to find this Gambit. This one might be a little bit harder to find because it's just a little bit older. And it does, you won't have all the cool accessory enhancements or shortcomings rather than the other ones had. Again, we have that weird that plastic peg right here, which again I don't like. I can't remember if the original one had it. I think it did, but I didn't talk about it a whole lot because I kind of bashed it big time on my original review. I do like how they gave attention to details to the cards. The original ones didn't do that. The original, like I mentioned, I don't have the original card like this here within reach. But this one here, I do think they did a better job with it because you have the card itself as far as it's again the same image, the same effect, but you have the playing card now listed here with just an energy effect here. They maybe either didn't think to do this or they ran out of time getting it to market. That's why this one now, when they made the adjustment to have the actual card painted on the hand. I do think, personally speaking, which way you should handle, again, having the option of holding the staff with his other hand, you lose the effect, so you have to either trade off. Do I go with the staff, if you want to be a tight fit, or do you go with a shaky fit, which is the other hand, which you might have to heat gun or warm temperature hand closed to get it to work? Again, I'm a fan of the fingerless gloves right here with the hands open with the two fingers so you can put the card in place. I think that was a better idea, and that's the one I'm probably going to keep with the new figure as well. I do, again, like that design. I thought it was very, very cool them doing it and keeping it with this figure again. So I'm probably going to keep it. I do like you can put it between the hands. Again, we'll showcase it off for you right there. So that's kind of how I hold my Gambit up. That's when he's sitting on my shelf, he looks sort of like this. And he has the staff in the other hand. But again, this hand, again, very, very loose. Why they didn't fix this hand, I don't know. This was basically a redo. They took everything they did with this figure right here and just made it better with this figure. So how you can mess that up twice is beyond me. Meaning, I don't know if they thought, you know what, we'll either do cards in one hand, staff in the same hand, which is silly. I don't know why you would do that. You'd want to have, again, I'm not a big fan, a proponent of having too many accessories. I don't like having so much stuff on my shelf that I can lose parts very, very easily. Not a fan of that. Don't think it's a good idea. Having the ability of holding majority of your accessories is what you want to have happen. By removing this hand, I got to hold this hand aside, and I got to hold this aside as well. So I'm not a big fan of that. You know, the staff between both figures were the same, no difference. You think they would put a little bit more wash on the staff between the two? They didn't. But I like both figures. If you can get this one, buy this one. If you can't find this one, then get this one. It's just subtle differences between these. Basically, if you really, at the end of the day, really what do you have? You have a paint variant with a tweak to the head sculpt and a tweak to the chest armor, and it kind of lightened up the boots a little bit. And of course, the change of the playing cards, where you can see the physical symbol of the card as it's being kinetically charged compared to what it was before. That's the idea. That's the changes they made to this figure. So all in all, I think this Gambit's a good figure. Price point, if I remember correctly, I think it was $22 US. I got him at Target about, I want to say, 4 or 5 months ago. So I do hope you like this video review of the, that's right, Hasbro Gambit. I guess we'll call this one version 2, the Toy Biz rendition of the Gambit figure, which we saw from Marvel. Again, he is Marvel Legends. This is a Marvel Legends figure. I didn't mention that before. It's a Marvel Legends class figure. Just, it doesn't call it Marvel Legends. It's using this new backdrop of the Toy Biz. Again, I hope you do like this video review. Remember to give it a like at the bottom of the page. Click the subscribe button, picture my face. When you subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon to be notified of my latest videos. And of course, last but not least, you click Windows over here to watch more of my content. Take care, guys. See you next video. And bye-bye.